Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone, we are from Group 5. We'll explain about methodological approaches for the ELT material. My name is Tartila Fitrianisa, NPM 192122030 as the first presenter, and I will explain about grammar translation method. Grammar translation method, or GTM, is originated from practice of the teaching Latin in the early 1500s. It was one of the most commonly used methods until 1950s, but it is still common in classroom today, especially in Korea. In this method, students learn grammatical rules. Students apply rules by translating sentences between the languages. For advanced students, translate whole text word for word. Materials in GTM are text, worksheet, bilingual vocabulary list, grammar rule sheets, translation activities, and dictation activities. That's all from me. For the next material, will explain by the next presenter.
Thanks to the previous presenter. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello, my name is Nelisa Adatularain as the second presenter. My student's number is 192122031. So in this occasion, I will explain about the direct method. As stated by Larson, Freeman, and Anderson 2011, the direct method was revived as a method when the goal of instruction became learning how to use another language to communicate. The direct method was developed in response to GTM, or Grammar Translation Method. The direct method was developed on the early 1900s, but was very influential in the 1950s. In this method, completely avoid using L1 or first language. Therefore, students are emphasized to use the target language. It focuses on the development of oral skills, as students will use the target language to communicate. In direct method, vocabulary is emphasized over grammar. Therefore, in this method, there is no explicit rule learning or drilling, or it can be said as inductive grammar. Next. Materials in the direct method. Everyday language focus rather than literature. Therefore, as mentioned by Larson, Freeman, and Anderson 2011, students study common everyday speech in the target language. In the direct method, teaching concepts and vocabulary through pantomiming, real-life objects, and other visual materials. Materials usually organized into situations like shopping, eating, at a bank, etc., or by topic like water, hobbies, family, etc. We can also use flashcards, pictures, videos, question-answer drills, and read-aloud strategies. The next method is Audiolingual method. Larson, Freeman, and Anderson stated that the goal of this method is students are able to use the target language communicatively. The method peaked in popularity in the 1960s to 1970s, developed for the military. It was based on behaviorist theory, the theory of learning that emphasized exposure, imitation, reinforcement, and habit formation. Like the direct method, learning is directly, without using L1 or first language to explain new words or grammar in target language. In this method, no L1 permitted. In Audiolingual method, focus shifted from teaching vocabulary back to grammar. And one of the characteristics of this method is implicit grammar via memorized forms. Alright, that's all from me. Thanks for your kind attention. The next slides will be presented by my friends.
Material in Audiolingual method. Material in Audiolingual method is lots of dialogues, role play, listen, repeat, and drilling, or repeat the same thing over and over. And the last is pattern practice, communicative language teaching. It is grew out of sociolinguistics in the 1970s. It is emphasis on the process of communications, interactions, and language functions rather than forms. It is being able to communicate requires more than linguistic competence. Knowing when and how to say what to whom to make yourself understood in socially appropriate ways. ELT is learned best through interactions with others and through communicate usage of the language. ELT learned best when the students try to say something that they really want or they really need to say. Material in communicative language teaching. The first is pair and group activities without structured language that students have to follow. The second, material concentrate using language naturally for various social purposes and in various social settings. The third, problem-solving task. And the last is drama, team project, team games, group discussions, survey or interviews, and information gap or jigsaw.
Hello, my name is Sharon Bunga Permata, NPM 192122028. After materials in communicative language teaching in check-in, we can decide in the whole approach that we explain which approach do you feel fits you the most and why. Next is project-based learning or PBL. So there are some background in project-based learning. First, John Dewey initially promoted the idea of learning by doing. And doing projects is a long-standing tradition in American education. Next, hands-on learning. Then, educational research has advanced this idea of teaching and learning into a methodology known as project-based learning. Last, PBL responds to the needs for education to adapt to a changing world in the 21st century skills. Next is education in 21st century. In 21st century, the old school model of passively learning facts and reciting them out of context is no longer sufficient to prepare students to survive in today's world. Solving highly complex problem requires that student have both fundamental skills like reading, writing, and math. Also, 21st century skills like teamwork, problem solving, research gathering, time management, information synthesizing, utilizing high-tech tools. Next, learning outcomes, PBL versus traditional instruction. According to Stobel and Van Barneveld 2009, Walker and Leary 2009, traditional instruction PBL increases long-term retention of content, helps students perform as well as or better than traditional learners in high-stakes tests, improve problem-solving and collaboration skills, and improve students' attitudes towards learning. Schools where PBL is practiced find a decline in absenteeism, an increase in cooperative learning skills, and improvement in student achievement. When technology is used to promote critical thinking and communication, these benefits are enhanced. Next is revised PBL. In revised PBL, there is entire event on or discussion of the topic and problem that will be focused on. Then, teacher gives the student a project to do. Next, students work on the project in groups, and the last is students present the project. I think that's for me. For the next presenter, please.
Hello, my name is Risha Rismaya. My student's number is 192122029. In this part, I want to tell about the project-based idea for project-based learning method. These are the project-based idea for project-based learning method, and it divided into several ideas. First, design. The teacher could give the student tasks like make a design for a new product, design new way for doing something, and design to make a better something. Second, make or create, giving a task to create a plan, make a poster, create a storybook, make a brochure, make an advertisement, create a video, and maybe make a drama. And the third, build. The student could build a model for something or a structure for a group or organization. And the fourth, write. The student could write a letter, a poem, a short story, a speech, or rewrite something. And the last, prepare. It's like to preparing for debate, teach a lesson, or some teaching practice. Next, post-method era. Kumara Diplos 2006 explained that the post-method era means a particular group of teachers teaching a particular group of learners following a particular set of goals within a particular institutional context embedded in a particular socio-cultural milieu. There is no single best method. Along with Prabhu 1990 said that we do not believe that there is single best method. I will argue number of factors that support this statement. There are the teacher, the student, and the method that influence in deciding there's no best method for teaching English as a foreign language. Prabhu also said that there is no single best method is best for everyone. In other words, that different methods are best for certain people in different teaching contexts. Each method has its own strengths and weaknesses, meaning that every method that used for teaching learning has the advantages and disadvantages for the teachers as educators and students as learners, because every single person has its own interest for the method that used. There is major emphasis communicative competence, meaning that currently the communication skill approach is still widely used in several learning processes because this approach is also the most used approach by the teacher to improve student speaking skill in learning English. Next, we can incorporate aspects from variety of methodological approach into material development and teaching. The teacher can include or mix other methods in the learning process according to the type of context of the material that teacher will convey. And last, it is important to consider what fits best rather than choosing a single approach for everything. Back to the previous point that the teachers better choose some method depends on the material needs than choosing a single method but it's not appropriate to the context of the material. That's all from me. Thank you.
Thank you for the previous presenters. My name is Fitri Rahmatilla. My student's number is 192122026. And I am going to explain about materials in the post-method era. Number one is any and all of what has been previously mentioned. It means materials in grammar translation method, materials and direct method. All of them are the part of material in post-method era. Number two is innovative or creative materials, because it's flexible and adaptable to learners' needs and interests. And last is technology. Next slide is current trends in materials development. Number one is based off of student input and feedback. Number two is focus on cultural sensitivity and intercultural communication. Number three is movement away from the native speaker model. Number four is movement toward comprehensible input and output. Number five is movement towards enjoyment in the language classroom. Number six is more activities. Number seven is movement away from testing. And number 8 is movement away from the memorization. Number 9 is less teacher talking, more student talking. And 10 is maximizing student participation. And next is reflection. As a material developer, what are some key points from this lesson that you must consider? And what is each method useful for? And last is application. Storytelling with young learners. You want students to memorize such process. You want students to use language freely to develop their own communicative abilities. You want learners to learn from each other. You want to teach adult learners specific grammar rules. You are teaching a group of translation students. You want students to develop language skills useful for a work setting. You want to prepare students to do well on KSAT. You are teaching a reading class. You want to develop students for skills in a balanced way. You want to develop communicative competence in learners. That's all for me. Thank you for your attention.